So nearly 3 years ago to the day, I sat out here early in the morning and I made a video that was really, really important to me. And it was the day I got my first big royalty check from Amazon. And I remember it had been like 2 months of complete hell because I was completely broke. And then I got this check from Amazon that was more than I had ever received in a single paycheck in my life. And I was like, hallelujah. Yeah, and it's funny, almost 3 years to the day, I think it was the 28th I did that, because that was when the money came in. Anyway, here I sit today, so much older and so much not wiser. Really weird. I remember back then, I was like, I did it. I just need to keep doing it. That's the challenge, obviously. And I think I've been nobbling myself. I think after all this time, after all these clever things that I've done, freaking idiot. Let me tell you what my problem is. And it's the problem that so many other self-published authors have. But my problem is, I think I literally kind of nobbled myself because I had this obstacle in my head that seemed insurmountable. And okay, I'm going to quickly diverge from this and tell you. It's a story that I think my parents told me at one time, or I read it somewhere else, about elephants. Elephants are the largest and most powerful land animals. And it's very, very difficult to stop an elephant doing anything an elephant doesn't want to do. But elephants have been used by mankind for years as a domesticated animal, especially in India and Africa, which is where they're from. And how do you train an elephant? Well, you get a baby elephant, tiny baby little elephant. It's the size of like a big dog. And you put a chain around its neck, a collar around its neck, a chain leading to a stake in the ground, and you hammer the stake in, and the little baby elephant, because it's a baby, can't pull the stake out of the ground, so it gets stuck with this chain around its neck. And time goes on, and the elephant grows, and the elephant grows, and the elephant grows until it is the size of a house. But the elephant had been ingrained with this belief that the stake in the ground was so firmly in the ground that it couldn't pull it up. Even though, like probably within a year or two of being placed in this situation, the elephant had grown to the stage where it could have pulled that pin out of the ground with no problem at all. And now you've got a huge 2-ton elephant. I don't know how much do elephants weigh, 2 tons? I think it's 2 tons. Maybe it's 5 tons. Anyway, they're bloody big. And this elephant could have plucked that stake out of the ground with no effort whatsoever, but it never tried to, because it had a belief in its head that it couldn't. And that belief was the obstacle, not the actual physical obstacle. And I'm starting to wonder if this is the thing with writing as well. I had like an epiphany. So here's the situation. With writing, you have, with self-publishing, you have one major obstacle, which is called the 90-day cliff. And what happens is Amazon pay you every month, on time, always, but they pay you for the month that ended 60 days earlier. So if I wrote a bestseller in July, I wouldn't get the check until the 1st of October, which causes problems, because back when I first wrote my first bestseller, it was very, very much easier to get seen and become popular without having to invest a huge amount of money in advertising. If you knew the tricks and you wrote really good books, then you could literally spend a couple of $100s just to boost yourself one day, and that would make the book so popular that it would continue to earn money for weeks and months afterwards. But over the course of the last 3 years, Amazon has changed fundamentally. And if you go to the product page of any book now, about 60% of all of the books that you see presented are actually adverts. And that means all the tricks to getting organic visibility, they barely even work anymore. So if I use exactly the same promotional tactics that I did in 2018 for a book, in 2018, that would mean the book would earn $10,000 that month. But these days, if you use exactly that technique, the book will earn about $2,500 in the month, simply because advertising has become such an important and intrinsic part of the equation. Which is where we go back to the 90-day cliff that I told you about. Amazon don't pay you until 60 days after month's end. So the problem is, if you invest money in advertising, then you don't see a return on that money spent until 60 days after month's end. And if you advertise on Facebook, or you advertise on freaking Amazon itself, you have to pay up at the end of every month. And this causes a real problem. So for somebody in my situation, I have 29 full-length books that I published, and I have a very, very successful series. So I know for a fact that because I've done it many, many times before, whenever I've had spare cash, I can advertise with a 70% return on investment. So if I spend $1 advertising my book series, I'm pretty much confident that I will get $1.70 back, which means I pay for my advertising and make 70 cents in profit, which, you know, might not sound like much, but it's profit, it's math, it works out. And I'd always had in my head, it's like, oh, you know, all I need to do to get back on top is just have enough money to advertise for 1 month. I gotta do some other stuff so I can have some money to advertise my books, because once my books are being advertised, I'll get those royalty checks in and the advertising will pay for itself. I just need to kickstart this sucker. I don't know why I went into that kind of Austin Powers thing there, but yeah, all the time I was like, you have to kickstart this sucker. And so when I came to this realization after publishing my last book, Nobody Rides for Free, I was like, what am I going to do to kickstart this sucker? And I was very, very organised. That big blackboard that I used to plot books, I created Project Maxwell's Demon. If you know anything about thermodynamics, Maxwell's Demon is this theoretical system of perpetual motion. And I was like, I'll create a perpetual motion machine that can make enough money to pay for itself and pay for my advertising my books. And then when my books are successful, of course, I'll receive it, blah, 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 blah. That's great. Okay, I'm a smart guy. I am a smart guy. So, you know, me, I can come up with stuff very quickly and efficiently. And that's exactly what I started to do. Created this e-commerce platform to maybe think about selling my books directly to consumers. And that's great. I had some success with that, but I couldn't quite tip it into working for what I wanted. And then I was like, okay, I will create some templates and sell those. And I did that again. And it's great product. I made some fantastic videos, and I was starting to realize, like, I've got a really quite incredible skill set for this kind of junk. I know how to advertise on Facebook. I know how to produce videos and edit videos. I know about copywriting. I can create a website. I was like, I'm like a Swiss Army knife. I am. Made me feel quite good. Anyway, I digress. So the next thing I did was, create these advertising templates and market those. And again, I was putting these adverts out there. I didn't have any success with those, but I was like getting closer. And then I thought, you know what? Everyone is going on these days about courses, and I should make a course. And I think I have the right to actually seriously consider that, because, like it or not, everything I say is true. I have sold 66,648 copies of my books. I've made $276,000 in royalties. And these are things that are real, that have happened. So I was like, I'll make a course. And that presented me with two problems. The first is, why the hell is anybody going to buy my course? Because there are courses out there by really legitimate people, like Mark Dawson, who does ads for authors and self-publishing 101. And then there are tons of courses out there by non-legitimate people. And I would consider it's difficult, because it's like, I'm a legitimate person, but, you know, I'm not. I was making the course because I was frustrated because I wanted to spend more money on advertising, and it seems like that's yeah, maybe with that situation, facing that situation, I shouldn't be making a course. But then I did hear this very good piece of advice once, that a teacher doesn't need to know everything. A teacher just needs to know more than their student. And there was a comment when I was on one of the Bond book club things. There was a comment that Joe Darlington, who's awesome dude and podcaster who does Being James Bond, he was saying, like, oh, if someone could teach us how to advertise their books, because he's written a book that I've read and I've reviewed, and it's very, very good. And I was like, I could do that. And so I thought to myself, I will just take a leap of faith and I'll make a course, but I won't even worry about like the sales and marketing course. I'll make a course to help people. And I thought really hard. So I took Joe as one example, and there are a couple of other writers I've worked with, took them as example. And I was like, if I had the ability to sit down and tell people things that I think would actually help solve some of the problems they face with their books getting seen and impacted on Amazon, that will be a course. And so that's what I did. And there are all these adverts I always run into on Facebook where it's like, create a course and market it in 72 hours. And I was like, oh, 72 hours, that sounds fantastic. But actually, it took me 6 weeks to make this course. It was really, really tough. I really put a lot of thought and effort into it. And I think it's because, at that point, I was like, I'm going to charge money for this course. And I was like, I really want people to get value out of this course. I don't want anybody to finish that course and be like, oh, well, this is garbage, I want my money back. No, I really want them to finish the course and be like, this was worth the money I paid for it. And so I made what I think is a really, really good course. And then I advertised it, and 2 people bought it immediately, which I'm really, really appreciative of. There's Craig White, hi Craig, from the UK, and there is Bud West, who is the Bond Brain. If you are a fan of James Bond, look up the Bond Brain. It's a fantastic podcast all about like the psychology of James Bond, which I really, really dig. Anyway, that felt amazing that, real people would entrust their money and time and thoughts with me about a subject like that. But also at the same time, somebody commented on the Facebook post that I had about it. They were like, who's this guy then? Does he have any books published? And they looked up my name, Roland Hume, and I do have some books published, and they're not completely insignificant. But of course, I made my fortune, he says, writing under a pen name, and I didn't actually list the pen name publicly. And so, they were saying like, oh, well, look at his books here. Clearly, he hasn't made $276,000. He's only got like 4 books up there. And I was like, well, that's not true actually. And then I was like, wait a second. These complete strangers were Googling your books to see whether they were legit or not. And I was like, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, It's Oscar Wilde said there's no such thing as bad publicity. So there we go. That's kind of cool. People were Googling me for no other reason apart from the fact that they were skeptical of my claims. My claims are completely honest, let's say. But I can understand also exactly where they were coming from. And Mark Dawson himself, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, he did say that one of the easiest ways you can spot courses that are being sold by people who don't necessarily know what they're talking about is the fact that if you Google their books are garbage in the ranks and stuff like that. And I think if you went to my romance pen name and looked at all the books there, looked at the literally hundreds and hundreds of reviews, you'd see that I'm a legit animal. However, I can't market my course as me, Roland Hume, and then rely on my reputation as a romance author with a different name to sell my course for me. And it came to the most absurd, stupid conclusion. This is where I was like, you fucking genius, you moron. Yeah, so I was sitting there thinking, oh, well, all I need to do to sell my course is just make my books sell more. And then I was like, you're a genius, you freaking moron. Because why the was I doing this in the first place? Because I wanted to sell more books. I wanted to have some money to sell more books. And then I was like, wait, stop 1 second. My 2 biggest problems in life are the fact that I don't have enough money to advertise my books, and I don't have enough time to write more books, to generate the revenue, to advertise more. And I was like, if I literally just stopped trying to do all this entrepreneurial bullshit like making courses and selling templates and things like that, solved the time problem. And you know what, if I just shut up and wrote books and concentrated on what I actually knew, I would also solve the money problem. And it made me realize what a complete idiot I have been with this mental obstacle, because if I had come to this realization when I published Nobody Writes for Free, and I'd spent the intervening, oh god, it's like 6 months just focusing on writing and publishing. I'll be making another video this morning about how big my check was. That's the thing. You gotta, we writers, the thing we do, the only thing we do better than write is self-sabotage ourselves with this stupid, yeah. So, I came to this realization, and I've decided I am no longer going to spend any time or effort on things that aren't what I want to do and be, which is a writer. And the moment I came to that realization, a great weight lifted from me, because I was like, you know what, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Is what I was meant to do. Where did I lose sight of that? And I realised it's because I've always had this mental block of like, oh, there's a 60-day cliff. Sorry, 90-day cliff. 90-day cliff. If I could just get over that 90-day cliff, have enough money to get over that 90-day cliff. And I'm like, you just need patience. You just need to do the work and stick with the patience, and it'll work out. And yeah, it was like a great weight lifted from me. It would be so cool to be able to sit down and make videos like this, only about my writing journey instead of other things. So that's what I'm going to do. God, it feels amazing. It really does. I'm like, that solves all my problems. I just stop being a freaking idiot and stop trying to be like entrepreneurial and things. Just do what you do best. Do what you want to do. Do what you're always complaining you don't have time to do. So, there we go. Well, cheers. Here's to that. I really enjoyed receiving that big royalty check in 2018 for the first time. And I enjoyed receiving the ones that followed even more. Because it was like, oh wow, if I just stay consistent with this, I can make a better living than I have done doing anything else. And I think what happens is sometimes things like Amazon, you know, they move the goalposts, adding all this advertising bullshit and stuff like that. But if you can learn the stuff that made you successful the first time, and you've already made other people successful this time, and the only thing stopping you is your own mental BS. And ugh. Anyway, okay. I've been rabbiting for 18 minutes. I don't think anybody's going to watch this. Tell you what though. Okay, I've got this course, I've got these advertising templates. What am I going to do with them now? Do I want to continue selling them? Well, you know what? No. I created a course that I genuinely think is going to be helpful to people. And these template things that I created, I think could be helpful to people. So I'm going to give them away for free. Yeah, I'm going to set the course to free, and anybody who wants to do it, I would be humbled and grateful if they would invest their time and effort doing it, and hopefully it will be helpful for them. And the same thing with those templates. I'll stick links down in the description of this video. I am going to give them away for free, and I will make those videos available on YouTube as a playlist as well. And if anybody finds them useful, that will be the best reward I can possibly think of. And in the meantime, I'm going to write. I've got 3 books which have been swirling around my head. Now I'm like, oh, now my problem is I'm going to have to decide which one to start writing first. Anyway, mosquitoes have come out. I've got a nice glass of bourbon here. Cheers. Your very good health. And hopefully I will report back with encouraging news very soon.